As this course focuses on C# code, your knowledge of JavaScript may be quite limited. JavaScript uses very similar logic and syntax to C# code, so you should be able to understand it with very little difficulty. This course will not cover advanced JavaScript, but you will learn everything that you need to call web methods and enable Ajax features. To begin, open the MegaChat project from your sample files folder. And open default.aspx in source view. Now you're going to add a new JavaScript function to the code. First, find the script type equals text/JavaScript tag. Now add the following code inside the script tag just after var username. Function send message message begin curly brackets end curly brackets. This code defines a new JavaScript function named sendMessage with an argument named message. JavaScript functions are almost identical to C# methods. Next, you're going to add some code to your new function that will call the web method that you created in the previous lesson. Add the following code to the sendMessage function. Page methods dot sendMessage message. This code is all that you need to call the sendMessage web method, which happens to have the same name as the JavaScript function. This was only possible because the script manager control automatically generated JavaScript code for the page methods object. The page methods object is created by the script manager control to make web methods easier to access. Connecting to a web method manually requires more complex code. You will do this in lesson 9-10. The sendMessage web method writes a new row into the MegaChat project's database. You created the sendMessage web method in the previous lesson. That's lesson 9-6. Now add the following code on the next line. Display message div style equals color blue bold plus username plus end bold colon plus message plus end div. This code calls the page's displayMessage JavaScript function, which displays the message inside the div tags with the ID chatbox. Next, find the code that begins textAreaInput.keyDown. This code uses jQuery to call the sendMessage function when the user presses the Enter key in the HTML text area control called textAreaInput. TextAreaInput is the area at the bottom of the page where the user will type chat messages. This code makes extensive use of the jQuery library. Don't worry if you cannot completely understand the code at this stage, because you'll learn more about jQuery in lesson 9-9. Having said this, here's an overview of how the code works. TextAreaInput.keyDown function event creates an event handler that will run whenever the user presses a key within the TextAreaInput control at the bottom of the page. This event handler is only interested in the Enter key, so the next line checks which key the user pressed. Event.keyCode contains a code indicating which key was pressed. Key code number 13 indicates the Enter key. Notice also that this if statement checks to make sure that the Shift key is not held down. If the Enter key is pressed, the contents of the text area input control are sent to your sendMessage function with the code sendMessage text area input.val. The val function retrieves the text that the user typed into the text area input control. Next, the val function is used again to clear the contents of text area input. Ordinarily, the page posts back when the user presses the Enter key. To prevent this from happening, event.preventDefault is used. Finally, you're going to test your code. First, open the code behind file of default.aspx and set a breakpoint at the start of the sendMessage web method. Now start debugging by clicking Debug, Start Debugging. When the page loads, enter a username and press Enter. Then click in the box at the bottom of the screen, type test message and press Enter. The breakpoint is encountered and you are returned to Visual Studio. If you're not automatically returned to Visual Studio, return to it manually without closing your web browser. Now hover your mouse cursor over the message content argument to check its value. As you can see, the message was successfully passed from the JavaScript function running in the user's browser to your C# code running on the web server. This was done via Ajax without refreshing the page. Stop debugging now and close Visual Studio. You've now completed Lesson 9.7. Call a web method using JavaScript.